This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. That includes bootstrappers just starting out, established business owners, and business leaders. My goal is to help you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Welcome back to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Remastered series. Today's sponsor is Audible, audible.com, and the book I'm recommending today is Shadow of the Conqueror, which is the first book in the Chronicles of Everfall by Shad M. Brooks. It's a book that's kind of, I'm not quite sure what it would be. Not quite steampunk, like medieval steampunk. I don't know. It's a fantasy adventure about a person who gets a second chance to right the wrongs they've done. I'll say that much. I really do enjoy it. I am a little biased towards this book. I was blessed to be a beta reader. I got to read it before most other people, and my input helped shape this book. And this book is very, very well done. It's pretty massive fantasy. It's read by two incredible readers, and I can't remember the names, but I do very much enjoy this book. I've listened to it at least 4 or 5 times, and I would not recommend it if I didn't really like it. It is an amazing book, very well written. It's an amazing first novel, and also, if you're interested, you can always go to Shadiversity on YouTube, as he has a YouTube channel where he talks about fantasy and medieval stuff. Pretty cool guy. Anyway, that's my book recommendation for Audible today. That's audible.com/bootstrap with a capital B. If you use that code, the audible.com/bootstrap with a capital B, you can get Shadow of the Conqueror by Shad M. Brooks for free with a free trial, 30-day free trial. You can also listen to their extensive library of books you can listen to with the subscription. Plus, you get 2 Audible originals, and you have the one credit and 2 Audible originals you keep forever, and you can listen to anytime, forever on ever on out. Anyway, that's that. And of course, by listening to fantasy, by reading comic books, by watching superhero movies, I have gotten good inspiration that I have used in business and been able to pull and draw lessons from. So even if you relax listening to fantasy, if your mind's open, you can learn different things, which leads us into today's remastered podcast, which is required secondary powers, which I drew from comic books and TV, and being an overall nerd and researching the details behind movies and TVs. Anyway, that's an intro that's almost as long as the podcast. I'm sorry. You have a great day. Let's go. Today I'm going to be talking about a film and movie concept that actually applies to business quite well. Now, the concept is something called required secondary powers. This comes from a website called TV Tropes. You can go look that up if you feel like it. You just look up required secondary powers on TV Tropes. Kind of to sum it up is a lot of superpowers you see in the movies only work if they have other secondary powers to go with it. For an example, let's take the very typical power of super speed. The Flash or Superman super speed or Quicksilver or any other super speedster. There's some issues with that. First of all, if you're running super fast, you're going to need super ability to be able to breathe, because when you're running super fast, it's really hard to get air in. If you're not sure about this, go on the highway, do about 80 miles an hour, stick your head out the window and try to breathe. It's not as easy as it would seem. Then you also need super heat resistance, because if you run really fast in atmosphere and air, you're going to start to burn up. If you're not sure about this, look up at the night sky and watch a meteor. That bright streak of light is a little pebble hitting the atmosphere so fast but the friction from that little pebble through the air heats it up till it glows bright white hot and then burns up just from the friction in the atmosphere. So you need super heat resistance if you're going to be a super speedster. You're going to need super eyesight because the faster you run, the more blurry it will be, and you'll need to be able to somehow see running super fast. And matter of fact, if you go to YouTube, you can look up Because Science talking about the Flash, and he talks about how the Flash would have a really hard time being able to see when running super quick. And of course, you would need a super metabolism because the faster you run, the more calories you burn, and so you need a super efficient metabolism. And even in the comics, at least the Flash is always eating just to fuel his body to run super quick. Without all of these secondary required superpowers, your superpower would be difficult to use, if not deadly. So there are other things you need other than super speed to run at super speed, and that's just super speed. Matter of fact, we have a real life example of this. The Australian tiger beetle is the fastest insect on Earth. It can cover about 8 feet in 1 second. This does not sound that impressive, but when you take into consideration how small they are, how tiny they are less than half an inch long. When you adjust for their size, they run the equivalent of 10 times faster than the fastest human sprinter. In other words, they're a super speedster. They do not have to worry about air resistance as much because they're so small, but they do have a vision problem. When they get up to full speed, they're traveling so fast that their eyes are not capable of receiving enough photons to be able to see clearly. Their vision becomes blurred and they have to stop to correct their course often. They run in short bursts to compensate for the lack of super eyesight. So you have this little beetle goes very super fast and has to stop because he can't see anything because he doesn't have supervision. He has to stop, look, stop, go. Actually, kind of a cool little bug. Anyway, so why am I talking about superpowers other than I'm a nerd and a movie buff and whatever? There's actually something important here, and that applies to business, and that is, let's apply it to entrepreneurship. You found your passion, and you're going to take a leap of faith, and you're going to start your new business idea, and this is your primary superpower. I am an incredible graphic artist. I like drawing. I'm going to be superpower. It's graphic artist. I'm going to start my own business. Great. That's your main superpower. However, you need to have and or develop other abilities in order to succeed. Some of these you may be born with. They come naturally to you. Others, not so much. But some are born just from your passion. You love graphic art, so you become a little bit more precise because you have to be precise in graphic arts, and that just comes from that. That's fine. But the rest can be developed, and all of them are needed to work. Now, some of these things are things like integrity, determination, self-discipline, confidence, creativity, and a willingness to learn. These are all secondary powers that are vital to success. Without these, success can be elusive. No matter how good of a product or service you offer, you won't succeed without them. You can be the absolute best, incredible graphic artist on the face of the planet and not have any persistence, and you'll fail. I mean, you need everything to work. It's not just what you do. You have to have other things to kind of support that. Now, with all these secondary powers, you can succeed. Even with an average level of good service, you can be an okay graphic designer, but have good determination, self-discipline, confidence, and creativity, and do super well. There might be a better graphic artist, but they're living with their mom in their basement, laying around all day, not doing anything. They're better than you are, but you will be more successful. Not everyone is born with all these different qualities, all these different things, but the good news is you can use your passion for what you do to help develop out these other quote-unquote secondary required powers to do it. Now, this is going to be the first of a series of podcasts about what these powers are. And the next one I'm going to talk about is determination. How important is it to be determined and not give up, etc. If you found value in this content, please leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, and most other podcast platforms. If you would like to support us, you can check out our sponsor links, or if you'd like to support us directly, you can donate or join our membership program at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Of course, it really helps when you share these podcasts with your friends as well. If you'd like to interact with me and other bootstrappers and leaders, you can join us over at our O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, an Athos Business Solutions podcast. For a companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, which is hosted by Jason St. Clair, past episodes and related blogs, please check out our website at www.athos.com, which is at www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I have been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.